Today's top stories and tomorrow's full forecast in the first 5 minutes. Nationally recognized with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Breaking News. You're watching CBS 3 Springfield.
Well, we begin your first 5 minutes with breaking news with a tragic update out of Virginia, where the pilot that has been missing since a crash yesterday has been found dead. Members of the 104th Fighter Wing out of Barnes say he suffered fatal injuries when his F-15 fighter jet crashed in a remote area of Virginia. Teams have been scouring that area for the pilot since the crash yesterday morning. CBS 3 has team coverage on this. Michelle Kingston is monitoring the latest on this. She's live in the newsroom. But we begin first with our Tim Callery, who has been following this story since it broke yesterday morning. He's live now from Barnes with the latest as a base is coping with this massive loss. Tim.
Well, Charisse, no doubt a very somber evening here at the Air National Guard base in Westfield, as the story did not turn out as many had hoped for. Now, a press conference just wrapped out about an hour ago here at the base. Colonel James Keefe says that pilot unfortunately received fatal injuries when the F-15 he was manning crashed in Deerfield Valley, Virginia yesterday morning. Colonel Keefe says Barnes was notified around 5 o'clock this evening that the remains of the pilot were discovered at the crash site. Now, it was first believed that he was able to eject from the jet prior to impact, but officials confirmed to CBS 3 tonight that he was not able to do so. The pilot's name and information is not being released at this time out of respect for his family.
He died as a result of injuries sustained during yesterday's crash. This is a devastating day for the family of our deceased pilot and the members of the 104th Fighter Wing and the entire F-15 community.
Now, as to why the pilot did not eject from the jet still remains a mystery, as investigators now switch things over to try to figure out what exactly happened to cause this F-15 to crash. Now, Colonel Keefe says that investigation could take up to 3 weeks until those answers are found out. Now, for more information on the jet and where it was heading to yesterday morning, we're going to turn things over to CBS 3's Michelle Kingston.
And we've been covering this story now since yesterday morning and have learned quite a bit about that F-15C fighter jet's mission. The plane was flying from Barnes to the Naval Air Station in New Orleans to receive a radar system upgrade. The Washington Center Air Traffic Control lost contact with the jet at about 9:05 yesterday morning, and we're told the crash occurred just 25 minutes later in the remote George Washington National Park near Deerfield Valley, Virginia. Officials tell us the crash site is remote and was hard to access, and that communication at first was extremely difficult. More than 100 people and 9 aircraft assisted in the search. Governor Deval Patrick released this statement tonight. This is a very sad day for the Guard and for Massachusetts. Throughout the last couple of days, as we learned the circumstances of this incident, we held out hope that the pilot would be found and returned safely to his family. Our prayers and condolences are with his family, the Wing Command, and all the members of the Massachusetts National Guard. And this is a breaking news story, and we will continue to keep you updated throughout this newscast as more information becomes available. Live in the newsroom, Michelle Kingston, CBS 3 Springfield.
And good evening, meteorologist Nick Morganelli with you. We have a few clouds drifting through tonight.
Nick, thank you. New tonight at 11, Holyoke Police, along with ATF and the FBI Western Mass Gang Task Force, recovered a loaded handgun and 800 bags of heroin after reports of shots fired tonight. Lieutenant Albert tells CBS 3 that shots were reported on Tokaniki Road near the Holyoke Mall. Witnesses described a blue Jeep seen fleeing from that scene, and a short time later, officers pulled that Jeep over on Main and Meadow Streets in Holyoke and gave chase after they say 22-year-old Anthony Perez fled from that vehicle. He was arrested along with the driver, 35-year-old Will Murray Hernandez. Both face multiple drug and weapons charges. Route 5 in East Hampton has been reopened after it was closed for several hours following a serious motorcycle accident. Police received the call just after 3 this afternoon of a car versus motorcycle. Police are not releasing details, but reconstruction crews were on scene for hours. CBS 3 will continue to follow this story and provide the latest information as that becomes available. Now, dozens of protesters gathered in downtown Springfield this evening to call for more accountability from police. The rally, held outside of a Rise for Social Justice on State Street, is in response to the killing of an unarmed teen by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Organizers say they're worried about the militarization of police and a lack of trust by some in the community. They are also quick to point out this is not a rally against all police.
We're not against the police department. We respect what they do and we understand that they risk their lives every day. We just want to bring more accountability and transparency to what they do, because we see a lot of cases coming to arise every day of unreported police brutality, and it's because of mistrust in the department, not individual cops, of the department as a whole.
There will be a public meeting at a Rise for Social Justice on State Street September 15th, and all members of the public are invited to attend. Westfield police are looking for a man accused in a recent larceny at a grocery store. Sergeant Steve Dickinson tells CBS 3 the man seen here is suspected of taking $640 in items from the Stop and Shop at 57 Main Street. Police say he was driving a white pickup truck the day of that larceny. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Westfield Detective Bureau. A retired firefighter accused of attacking Springfield Fire Commissioner Joseph Conan faced a judge today in Palmer and was released on some conditions. East Longmeadow Police tell CBS 3 former Captain Michael Richard is accused of attacking Conan in his home this week. Investigators say Richard was angry at Conan for passing him over for a promotion. Today, a judge ruled that Richard is free to go but must stay away from Conant, be subject to GPS monitoring, remain drug and alcohol free, and continue treatment at the VA Center in Leeds. Now, Mayor Sarner released a statement this afternoon after Richard was released, saying he was disappointed by the court's decision and finds it unacceptable. He goes on to say, quote, "This sets a very dangerous precedent and leaves every public official, public servant, or elected official vulnerable to a physical attack because of a public policy decision he or she has rendered," end quote. Meantime, Richard's attorney had this to say at the courthouse this afternoon.
There's always two sides of the story. My client is covered with bruises, which indicates to me this was not just a one-way fight like the district attorney is trying to portray in court. It's a mutual combat type of situation.
Richard is due back in court November 4th. On tonight's CBS 3's Springfield's Most Wanted, police are looking for the public's help identifying a man wanted on a number of charges throughout Western Mass. For more on him, we turn to our Michelle Kingston live with the details. Michelle.
Charisse, he's most recently wanted for assault and battery charges right here in Springfield.
Springfield police are looking for this man and they need your help. 25-year-old Antonio Vargas is wanted for assault and battery and intimidating a witness. Police say he became enraged after his elderly relative told him he caused a high cable bill last month. A neighbor called police to tell them about the disturbance. Canine officer Timmy Flanagan was first to arrive on scene.
As he was pulling up, he saw a green car speed away from that location, but his attention was drawn to an elderly woman in a wheelchair that was on the ramp out in front of the house.
Police say Vargas broke down the front door, smashed walls, and assaulted the woman.
He pushed her, assaulted her.
Vargas left the home before police arrived and has not been seen since. Police say he has 3 open cases, 16 adult arraignments, and more default warrants on him from other jurisdictions.
We're hoping somebody recognizes him, knows where he is. He's no longer living in this area, but he has ties to other areas in Western Massachusetts.
If you have any information on Vargas or this incident, contact the Springfield Police Department's Detective Bureau at 413-787-6355 or dial 911.
Now stick with CBS 3 next week as we reveal another Springfield's Most Wanted. Live in the newsroom, Michelle Kingston, CBS 3 Springfield.
Michelle, thank you. New tonight at 11, a lawyer for the New York Post is defending the newspaper, saying recently unsealed emails from police clear them in a defamation suit. 2 Massachusetts men are suing the Post for defamation after their pictures appeared on the front page, naming them as suspects in the Boston Marathon bombing 3 days after that tragedy last year. Salahuddin Barhoum and Yassine Zaimi were never suspected of involvement and say the story damaged their reputations. An attorney for the Post says law enforcement emails showing images of those men sent to the Post should clear the paper. The State Department of Revenue will launch a tax amnesty program aimed to recover delinquent taxes. The amnesty program will run from September 1st through October 31st and applies to unpaid taxes billed on or before July 1st. About 300,000 taxpayers will be getting notices next month notifying them that they qualify for that program. Officials say it encourages delinquent taxpayers to pay up to avoid fines. Coming up on CBS 3 Springfield News at 11, a Georgia police officer is in custody after officials say he murdered a woman he met online. And terrifying moments for a Seattle father as someone steals his car with his baby girl inside.
Balance of the day today in the upper 70s, but we touched 80 just for a brief time in Springfield as well as Hartford. The official high at Bradley International, 82 today. We'll be in the 80s on that 7-day forecast quite a bit. Details on that coming up next.
Now, CBS 3 Springfield Pinpoint Weather.
And welcome back. We're looking at Cristobal and the winds over 80 miles per hour with this storm.
Nick, thank you. Well, President Obama told the nation he has not yet decided whether to order airstrikes in Syria against Sunni Muslim fighters known as ISIS. The U.S. is already striking ISIS targets inside Iraq, but the group's base is in Syria. CBS's Tara Mergener is at the White House with more.
Good afternoon, everybody.
President Obama told reporters not to expect U.S. military action in Syria anytime soon.
We don't have a strategy yet.
The remarks were made during an afternoon news conference focused in part on the threat posed by an Islamic militant group known as ISIS or ISIL, which controls portions of Syria and Iraq.
Clearly, ISIL has come to represent the very worst elements in the region that we have to deal with collectively. That's going to be a long-term project.
The president said he will send Secretary of State John Kerry to the Middle East to build a multinational coalition to support the fight against ISIS.
We can rout ISIS on the ground and keep a lid on things temporarily, but then as soon as we leave, the same problems come back again. So we've got to make sure that Iraqis understand, in the end, they're going to be responsible for their own security. It also means that states in the region stop being ambivalent about these extremist groups.
The president said airstrikes against ISIS in Iraq will continue to protect U.S. personnel and interests. He said he'll consult with Congress about expanding them into Syria, but won't necessarily seek their authority. Tara Mergener for CBS News, the White House.
An Atlanta police officer accused of murder was arrested trying to flee the country. Authorities took 23-year-old Tareem Zeus Rana into custody at Hartsfield Jackson International Airport this morning. Rana is accused of killing a 26-year-old woman after meeting her online. He's charged with murder, kidnapping, and arson. Now, due to the developments, Atlanta police released a statement saying Rana has been relieved from duty and is in a non-enforcement status. Florida Governor Rick Scott is speaking out about a county that's choosing to opt out of standardized testing. In a 3-2 vote on Wednesday, the Lee County School Board voted to abandon state-mandated tests in favor of creating their own. However, this choice could have consequences like students not receiving diplomas or schools losing federal funding. This comes a day after it was announced that Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal plans to sue the federal government over the Common Core academic standards.
So we'll see the impact of what they did, and I think the biggest concern a teacher or a parent or a student even would have would be, is it going to reduce their federal funding?
The Lee County School Superintendent says she's concerned this move will hurt students and teachers won't know how to move forward. However, she says teachers still have to teach based on standards set by the state. Seattle police arrested a man who they say stole an SUV with a 10-month-old baby girl inside. The girl's father left her inside the SUV while he went into a convenience store yesterday afternoon, according to surveillance video of the incident. A man was then seen wandering up to the vehicle and driving off with it. He eventually abandoned that car in the middle of the road. Witnesses say the suspect later surrendered to police, who ordered him to get down on the ground at a restaurant.
The guy is maybe here and put this here. That's it. Say, hey, go down the floor.
After the suspect abandoned that vehicle, the car began to roll backwards, but witnesses managed to hit the brake and pull that baby out safely. She has since been reunited with her father. Joan Rivers was rushed to a New York hospital after she stopped breathing during surgery today. A law enforcement official tells CNN the 81-year-old comedian is in critical condition. Her heart stopped while undergoing throat surgery this morning. TMZ reports she was having a procedure done on her vocal cords at a local clinic. Still to come on CBS 3 Springfield News at 11, we return to breaking news out of Barnes Air Force Base, where officials have confirmed the death of the pilot whose plane crashed yesterday in Virginia. And as Russian forces cross the border into Ukraine, President Obama speaks out on the escalating tensions with Russia.
Covering news in your town. You're watching CBS 3 Springfield.
Turning back to that breaking news out of Virginia, where the pilot that has been missing since a crash yesterday has been found dead. Members of the 104th Fighter Wing out of Barnes say he suffered fatal injuries when his F-15 fighter jet crashed in a remote area of Virginia. CBS 3 has team coverage on this. Michelle Kingston is monitoring the latest and has more on the mission and local reaction. But we begin first with our Tim Callery, who has been following this story since it broke yesterday. He's live from Barnes with the latest as this base is coping with a tremendous loss. Tim.
Well, Sharice, a very sad ending to this story. You know, I spoke with some of the members of the 104th earlier this afternoon, and they told me that they were optimistic that they'd be able to bring their fellow comrade back home safe. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, things just did not work out that way. Now, a press conference wrapped up here just about an hour or so ago at the base. Colonel James Keefe says that the pilot unfortunately received fatal injuries when the F-15 he was traveling in crashed in Deerfield Valley, Virginia, yesterday morning. Colonel Keefe says Barnes was notified around 5 o'clock this evening that the remains of the pilot were discovered at the crash site. Now, it was first believed that he was able to eject from the jet prior to impact, but officials confirmed to CBS 3 tonight that he was not able to do so. Now, the pilot's name and information is not being released at this time out of respect for his family. Colonel Keefe says this is a tough reminder that no matter what the mission, whether it's overseas or on home soil, these men and women put their lives at risk.
These tragedies remind us of the risks that our brave men and women in uniform take every day.
Now, as to why the pilot did not eject, that still remains a mystery tonight as investigators now move forward to see what exactly caused this F-15 to go down. Now, Colonel Keefe says that investigation could take up to 3 weeks or so until we finally get some solid answers. Now, CBS 3 will continue to follow this story and bring you updates on our website and on air as soon as they become available. But now we're going to turn things over to Michelle Kingston, who's live in the newsroom and has more on this crash.
Yeah, Tim, we have learned quite a bit about that F-15C fighter jet's mission. The plane was flying from Barnes to the Naval Air Station in New Orleans to receive a radar system upgrade. The Washington Center Air Traffic Control lost contact with the jet about 9:05 yesterday morning, and we're told the crash occurred just 25 minutes later in the remote George Washington National Park near Deerfield Valley, Virginia. Officials tell us the crash site is remote and was hard to access, and that communication at first was extremely difficult. Now, a press conference was also held in Virginia tonight where officials thanked the more than 100 people and 9 aircraft who assisted in the search. They said America has lost a hero, a leader, and most importantly, a family member. Now, Senator Don Humison released a statement tonight that said, in part, "My most sincere condolences to the pilot's family, his co-workers, and fellow warriors. In war and in peace, it is still a dangerous job that few do as well or as proudly and professionally as the members of the 104th Fighter Wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. God bless them all. Rest in peace." Now, this is a breaking news story, and we will continue to keep you updated as more information becomes available. Live in the newsroom, Michelle Kingston, CBS 3 Springfield.
Michelle, thank you. Well, Ukraine's president said today Russian forces had crossed the border and urged Ukrainians to remain calm. President Obama says Russia must face consequences for its actions and spoke about the escalating tensions from the White House today. CBS's Tara Mergener reports.
The fighting in eastern Ukraine is heating up, and President Obama is again pointing the finger at Russia.
The violence is encouraged by Russia. The separatists are trained by Russia. They are armed by Russia. They are funded by Russia.
Thursday, NATO released satellite images showing what it says are Russian combat forces conducting military operations inside Ukraine.
Russia has deliberately and repeatedly violated the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, and the new images of Russian forces inside Ukraine make that plain for the world to see.
President Obama insisted sanctions against Russia were working and said he expected more sanctions to come if Russia did not move to resolve this diplomatically.
We are not taking military action to solve the Ukrainian problem. What we're doing is to mobilize the international community to apply pressure on Russia.
The UN Security Council held an emergency session Thursday, and U.S. Ambassador Samantha Powers issued the strongest diplomatic rebuke of Russia yet.
But Russia has to stop lying and has to stop fueling this conflict.
But the Security Council has its hands tied because Russia has veto power over any resolution. Tara Mergener for CBS News, the White House.
And connect with CBS 3 on social media. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. You can find us at CBS 3 Springfield. And here's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
Ahead on CBS This Morning, Bob Orr on the hacking attack on Chase Bank that may have compromised checking and savings account information. And we're in California, where waves are damaging piers and leading to hundreds of rescues. The news is back in the morning. See you at 7.
Congratulations to CBS 3's Gridiron giveaway winner Melanie Boudreau of Granby. You just won a $250 gift card to Bobby V's Restaurant and Sports Bar. For those of you at home who would like to be entered into that contest, all you have to do is like CBS 3 Springfield on Facebook. Very fun.
All right.
All right. Looking at that weather now. A nice, beautiful day.
Yeah,
tomorrow,
beautiful day tomorrow. Lots of sunshine. Quick peek at the holiday weekend. It gets more humid with scattered showers and storms Sunday and Monday, and that lasts through Wednesday.
All right.
Keep the umbrella handy.
All right, Nick. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, 1st at 4. Have a great night.
Good night.